Excuse me, may I have a moment? In the calm atmosphere of a high-end restaurant, a female manager suddenly approached me. I'd like to talk to you, please come this way. The manager pointed towards a room where my Mil, who had invited me to the restaurant today, wasn't present. As I tried to ask why, she tightly and forcefully gripped my arm. Her hand was slightly trembling. My name is Chloe. I'm 29 years old, and I work in the fashion industry. I met Jack, who's the same age as me, at a friend's wedding 2 years ago, and we got married. We happened to sit close to each other at the wedding, and with some drinks, we hit it off. He's always been kind, and even at our age, he seems so mature and composed. I was drawn to him. Even though I'm quite shy, I made the first move, and we started dating. Our relationship was smooth, rarely fighting, and we both naturally fought about marriage. But there was one serious conversation we had. He told me he was divorced. The reason he got divorced was because he and his ex-wife grew apart, and they had no children. Minor issues piled up, and they had a mutual agreement to part ways. Jack regretted not making his ex-wife happy, so he promised to make me happy. When I mentioned wanting to work after marriage, he supported me wholeheartedly. After moving in together, we started sharing household chores. After a year of dating, he proposed to me, and we got married. Even though we were both busy, we were living happily. We both loved to eat out, so on our days off, we often visited restaurants. However, I have a severe shellfish allergy, which I always have to be cautious about. Jack was always concerned about it, and put my health above all. Whenever he made a reservation, he always mentioned my allergy. I wish I could enjoy meals without worrying about this allergy, I once told Jack. He comforted me by saying, there are plenty of delicious foods other than shellfish. Don't be too sad about it. I felt a bit relieved. Soon after our marriage, many colleagues advised me to be careful about potential issues with my Mil. It made me anxious. Even though allergies can be life-threatening, I heard there were cases where it caused troubles between Dills and Mills. I was always cautious about the distance I kept with my in-laws and others. However, since the first time I met my Mil, she was very kind and caring towards me. Once we got familiar with each other, I opened up about my allergy. She was understanding and said, my father had a severe fruit allergy. He often said how hard it was to always be cautious about his diet. I understand the struggles you're going through. Feel free to talk to me anytime. I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. We rented an apartment close to Jack's parents' house. Being nearby, our interactions with them increased. I especially got closer to my Mil, and we went shopping together about once a month. We'd visit supermarkets, department stores, and boutiques. Sometimes, we'd watch a movie, and then have a lunch at a restaurant before heading home. Whenever we visited a new restaurant, my Mil would always check about allergy-friendly options for me. But I felt guilty making her worry about my allergy every time, so I'd suggest we skip eating out occasionally. After a while, the frequency of dining out decreased. But then, one day, my Mil came up with an unexpected proposal. I had recently been promoted to assistant manager at the store where I work, and my Mil was incredibly happy about it. In her unbridled excitement, she exclaimed, "To celebrate your promotion, let's go to this place," and showed me the website of a restaurant. That place was the most prestigious restaurant around here, often visited by celebrities. It was a place of high repute. I was surprised, and I declined my Mil's invitation with all my might for the first time. It's not just about it being prestigious and intimidating, but more so, I was worried about the cost. It might be a bit crude to say, but both Jack and I are just normal office workers. This place is too fancy for just a promotion celebration for me. Plus, they mainly serve seafood, and I'm concerned about allergy. I don't want to inconvenience anyone because of my allergy. I truly appreciate your gesture, though. Hearing this, my Mil seemed to understand my feelings, and said, I'll handle the reservations and all the arrangements. All you need to do is to look forward to it. Of course, you won't have to pay because it's your celebration. Don't worry about your allergy, I've already informed them. Actually, I've been a regular patron of that restaurant for a long time. If I ask for something special, they would accommodate. I also want to introduce you to the owner. I was surprised because I had never seen my Mil talk so much before. Moreover, I didn't know she had connections with such a renowned place. I had never heard about this from Jack, but then I thought maybe it's not something he'd casually talk about. In the end, I accepted my Mil's earnest invitation. The reservation was for a month later, and it was on a weekday evening. I took a half day off for that day. I made an appointment at a hair salon in the afternoon. While I was looking into the dress code and table manners, Jack laughed, saying, "Chloe, you're the guest, you can relax a bit. But what if I do something rude? It would embarrass my mill, right? Especially since I heard it's a place she frequents. It makes me even more nervous." Huh. Is that so? I was taken aback by his unexpected response and turned to look at Jack. He too looked surprised. "I never heard about this from my mom." "You didn't know she often goes to that restaurant?" He shook his head, so I wondered. Not even telling her son, maybe there's a special reason. Did I do something wrong by mentioning it to Jack? But then again, we are all adults. Maybe it's not something that needs to be discussed. If she really didn't want it known, she wouldn't have mentioned it to me. I thought I was just overthinking because I was nervous, and I tried not to think about it anymore. Then, on the day, I met up with my mill, who had been shopping while I was at the hair salon, and we walked to the restaurant together. I never thought I'd actually go inside a place I'd only seen from the outside. When I thanked my mill again, she responded with a playful grin. "It's all right. Let's enjoy today," covering her mouth with a chuckle. When we entered the restaurant, we were greeted by the manager. We were led to a private room at the back of the second floor, with a gorgeous interior. Since it was still early, there weren't any other customers around, so it was quiet. As we waited for our food, we enjoyed some drinks and chatted. Knowing that I like to drink, my mill ordered some delicious wine for me. Usually, I wouldn't drink because I often have to drive to pick up Jack from his work. But my mill gently smiled and said, "This is your day, Chloe." With the restaurant's great atmosphere, I quickly got a bit tipsy. But then, my phone rang. I regretted not putting it on silent, and to make it worse, it was my boss from work. My mood immediately plummeted. Thinking there might be some trouble at work, I excused myself from the table, feeling guilty, and stepped outside. I also took my bag with me, which still had some of my work stuff from the morning, to ensure the confidentiality of my work. The call was about an oversight in my daily report. My boss said he'd handle it this time, and reminded me to be careful. I apologized. Making such a basic mistake on the day I was being celebrated for a promotion, I realized I still have a lot to learn. I fought to brace myself as I turned my phone to silent and decided to go back to my table. But then, a woman stood in front of me. Confused, I stood there, and the woman grabbed my wrist, pulling me into an empty private room. Too shocked to scream, the woman said to me, "You need to leave here, now." The woman introduced herself as the manager of the restaurant. Since she showed me her ID properly, I thought she wasn't a suspicious person. She told me she didn't have much time, and briefly explained the reason. What she told me was shocking enough to make me shiver. She had already arranged a taxi for me to leave, and she escorted me to the front door. "Please go as far away as possible, so your mill doesn't come after you." I was taken aback by her words as I was leaving. I wondered, how does she know about my relationship with my mill? That night, I received an infuriated call from my mill. The moment I answered, she yelled, "Why did you leave me behind? You're so mean." "Because of you, I was embarrassed. How could you do this to me? I'm really disappointed. I never want to see your face again." I thought at least you'd call with some excuse, but nothing. "What kind of upbringing did you have? I'll tell your parents how rude you are. You know, I can ask the restaurant to call the police to tell that you left without paying your bill." It was at this point that I finally responded. "The owner knows you not because you're a patron, right? What are you talking about? I'll explain that later. What I want to know first is, why didn't you inform the restaurant about my allergy? It's never been an issue before, so why now?" Apparently, the manager took the reservation call from my mill. During that call, my mill assured her that none of the guests had any allergies. "You're well aware of what I'm allergic to and how severe my reactions are, right? So why didn't you tell her?" "I can't remember, dear. It was so long ago." She responded in a nonchalant tone. "Were you trying to purposely expose me to the things I'm allergic to?" "What? Are you accusing me now? You really are rude." She seemed to be feigning ignorance. I kept talking. "Actually, when I was outside, the manager asked me about my allergy." "What? Was she still there?" I didn't miss what my mill whispered. But I didn't ask her about it because I had already heard everything. The manager noticed the allergy badge on my bag and approached me. That's when I told her about my allergy. She told me she hadn't heard about it from you, and you had ordered a seafood-heavy meal for the day. She wanted to confirm whether I was aware of this, as the dishes for both of us were supposed to be prepared the same way. You do know why she went to such lengths, right? My Mill didn't respond, so I continued. The manager, Lillian, was Jack's ex-wife, wasn't she? I heard her clicking her tongue. I've heard that you bullied her behind Jack's back. Lillian was a homemaker back then, and lived with you. You loaded her with almost all the household chores, constantly berated her for her cooking and cleaning, and eventually drove her out. This even led Jack to divorce her. Did she tell you that? My Mill laughed scornfully. It was the same smirk that Mill gave me when we entered the restaurant. That's pure delusion. She was really bad at doing household chores. Did Jack not know that? I thought it would be cruel to tell him from me, so I kept quiet. It's sad that he had to get a divorce without even knowing the reason. If anything, Jack's the victim here. You kept quiet because you didn't want to be painted as the villain, didn't you? Whatever you think, I won't be seeing you anymore anyway. She shifted her tone drastically. Until I spoke with Lillian, I had no idea about her true colors. After her divorce from Jack, Lillian began working at the restaurant. Because of her dedication and humility, she was soon promoted to the position of the manager. Since the restaurant owner and his wife didn't have children, they treated Lillian like their own daughter. However, they also trained her strictly to become a competent manager. However, My Mill, perhaps hearing rumors about Lillian's new life, started coming to the restaurant. Claiming Lillian was her family, she tried to cozy up to the owner and his wife, presumably hoping to enjoy meals on the cheap. Though My Mill never openly admitted it, her shady demeanor and past behavior made it clear she had ulterior motives. The day I came with My Mill, Lillian recognized me as Jack's new wife as soon as she saw me. She was worried about me because My Mill didn't inform her about my allergy, so she warned me in advance. When I asked why she thought I was Jack's wife, she bashfully replied, "Your Mill has such a terrible personality that she has no friends. Since she brought a woman around my age, I guessed you must be Jack's current wife." I respected Lillian, who bravely endured the bullying, as a fellow woman. I thanked her and promised to visit the restaurant again before getting in a cab. After that, I headed straight to my parents' house. My sudden return surprised my parents, but they patiently listened to my story. I called Jack, who was at home, explained everything, and asked him to come to my parents' house. Just as we were all gathered, the call from My Mill came in. I immediately set the phone to record and speaker mode and answered. "Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?" "Nothing. Now that I've seen your true colors, please stay out of my life." My Mill just snorted in response. "By the way, I thought I should let you know." "What now? You're so persistent. This call is being recorded. Jack and my parents are here listening to our conversation, so there's no need for you to explain anything. Just so you're aware." "What?" I could feel she was taken aback. I could easily picture her face turning pale. "Is Jack there? Can I talk to him?" "I heard everything, Mom," Jack's deep voice responded. I could tell My Mill was taken aback. "It's not what you think, Jack. I genuinely forgot about the allergy issue. It's too late for excuses now. And why didn't you tell me what you did to Lillian? I'm completely disillusioned with you. Don't contact me ever again." "Wait. Just listen to me for a moment." Ignoring her desperate pleas, Jack ended the call. Jack later explained everything to his father, including what his mother did to Lillian. When his father confronted his wife, she confessed she found me annoying. Initially, she seemed to like that I was always amenable to her invitations, but when neighbors began praising me more than her, jealousy took over. She used to belittle Lillian to feel better about herself, but without Lillian around, she no longer had an outlet for her frustration. When the neighborhood's praises for me increased, her stress compounded. She couldn't stand others being praised more than her. Hearing compliments like she's beautiful or such a good wife about me made her resentful. That's why she planned to make me eat shellfish at the restaurant. She wanted to watch me suffer. Hearing this, her husband was appalled and decided to get a divorce. He told her, "I don't want to be with someone who tried to kill a person," and kicked her out of the house. With no relatives nearby and nowhere to go, she called Jack. But after his declaration of cutting ties, he didn't answer the phone. So, she eventually turned to me. I answered the call and informed her about the legal proceedings to claim compensation. This left her in tears. I reluctantly consoled her and advised her to get a part-time job. But she whined, "Why do I have to work?" So I threatened her that I could consult with a lawyer to raise the compensation amount. That made her comply. Even after facing hardships in her part-time job, her personality didn't change. She made no friends at work and led a lonely life. Some neighbors happened to see her working at a local grocery store, and they mentioned she looked much older and more worn out than before. Even so, I received compensation payments punctually every month, so I thought she must be managing her lives somewhat decently. There was one good thing about this situation. I became friends with Lillian. I thought Jack might feel a bit awkward about it, but we hit it off so well that it didn't really matter. Jack sincerely apologized for not being able to protect me from my mill, and he reconciled with Lillian. Lillian also told me that she now has a boyfriend and is happy. A few days later, Jack, my Phil, and I celebrated my promotion at the restaurant Lillian works at. Lillian helped us to get a reservation. It would have been really difficult to get a reservation at such a sought-after restaurant without her. After the restaurant closed, Lillian joined us and we had a wonderful evening.